Vladimir Putin has now issued one of his strongest warnings yet as tensions between Israel and Iran continue to rise. According to recent diplomatic statements, Moscow is deeply concerned that the current crisis could spiral into a much larger regional war. Putin's message is centered on one dangerous fear. If this conflict keeps expanding, the consequences may go far beyond Israel and Iran. The Kremlin says continued escalation could threaten the security balance of the entire Middle East. But what exactly is Putin warning about? First, Russia fears that repeated strikes and retaliation could pull in more countries. If the conflict spreads toward the Gulf, shipping routes, oil terminals, and international sea lanes may become direct targets. That would instantly raise the risk for global trade and fuel prices. Putin's warning is not only military. It is also economic. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the most important oil routes in the world. If military operations begin affecting tankers or ports linked to Iran, markets across Europe, Asia, Africa, and America may feel the shock within hours. This is why Moscow keeps repeating the same point. There is no military solution that will truly stabilize this crisis. Russia says any attempt to force a solution through continuous bombing or pressure may only deepen the problem. Instead, Putin is pushing for an immediate return to negotiations. Behind the scenes, Russia has reportedly offered to help mediate between the sides, hoping to prevent the war from entering a more dangerous phase. But there is another layer to the warning. Putin is also worried about what happens if major powers become directly involved. If the United States increases military pressure in the Gulf while Israel continues strikes and Iran responds through regional allies, the conflict may expand into multiple fronts. That means not just missile exchanges, but naval operations, drone warfare, cyber attacks, and pressure on global energy infrastructure. In simple terms, Putin's warning is this: stop the war before it becomes impossible to control. Russian officials say even a single strike on the wrong target could ignite a chain reaction. A damaged tanker. A hit on an oil field. A strike near a Gulf military base. Any of these could trigger responses from several countries at once. That is why Moscow is calling for what it describes as rapid diplomatic efforts that respect the legitimate interests of all states. For viewers around the world, this warning matters because the crisis is no longer only about missiles over Israel or Iran. It is now about the possibility of a wider geopolitical and economic shock. Oil prices could surge. Shipping insurance could rise. Food and transport costs may increase globally. And for countries already facing inflation, that could create a second wave of economic pressure. Putin's statement is therefore less about taking sides and more about warning that the cost of miscalculation may be global. The most important part of the warning is what comes next. Will Israel and Iran step back? Will diplomacy reopen? Or will this crisis move from airstrikes to sea routes and strategic oil infrastructure? That is the question world leaders are now watching very closely. Because once the Gulf becomes the next battlefield, the impact may be felt far beyond the Middle East. Putin's message is simple. This war must not be allowed to grow. And if no one listens, the next stage may be far bigger than anyone expects. The real danger is not what has happened already, but what one wrong move could trigger next.